Here, it's sacred. It's sacred. I do not understand why the Boni of French Guiana, who are making so much noise, have not already come here to hold their morning ceremony. Because here, I would say that it's a high place of Boni's failure in the face of Yuca's failure.
It's simply because the Bonis have long since and proudly mourned Café Soca. They did not wait for the second abolition of slavery, decreed 7 years after that massacre, to honorably take charge of the memory of our deserving ancestors. As for your hypothetical commotion among the Bonis, isn't that just the remnant of an intellectual ringing in the ears? Because, in fact, all our discussions among members of the large Bonis family end with the observation of a monumental silence on the French Guyanese scene, and some rightly reproach us for it. The Bonis absolutely do not confuse mourning with commemoration. Regarding the first, mourning, the Bonis certainly have one of the most authentic, comprehensive, effective, and self-sufficient traditions of mourning in French Guyana, which is still practiced to this day in 2025. See K. Osu, a magazine about the tragedy of Loka and Pubaka from GuyaneLa1ère. Rest assured, our ancestors naturally did not wait for you to discover the Café Soca massacre in the Boni's mother tongue, to pass down to us with all the necessary details and genealogical links this chapter of the history of a French tragedy on the banks of the Oyapock for the past 184 years. As a reminder, the elected officials of Cayenne, almost to a person, are also not discovering what might be seen as yet another blunder in the history of France. In the 1990s, the multidisciplinary project In the Footsteps of Boni was already discussing this, and the late Daniel Machine, who was successively a regional counselor and president of the Museum of French Guyanese's Cultures, never missed an opportunity to talk about it to the elected officials and politicians of French Guyana. At that time, there was also talk of erecting a monument on site, but it seems that the enthusiasm of the Aluku youth of that era eventually gave way to the realization, over time, that the Bonis have a memorial protocol governed by their own internal values, which do not tolerate any form of assimilation, appropriation, or even the most well-intentioned intellectual pressure. The Bonis absolutely do not confuse life and death, nor yesterday and today. My second point is the commemoration of our ancestors. This is engraved in the very DNA of Boni tradition, in our worship and at the altar of our ancestors, the Fakatiki, which is found in each of our villages, both old and new. Believe us, Boni did not wait for the arrival of a Messiah to free his people from this diabolical European enterprise, nor for a new pope or a historian to know where, when, how, with whom, and in what way to honor the memory of the Bonis men, women, and children who have been gone for more than 250 years. What failure of Boni are you talking about, when our very presence on this land served as justification to redraw the borders of French Guiana, which was a patchwork French colony limited to a narrow coastal strip? Café Soca remains a grim vestige, an ageless and indelibly attested proof of our blood spilled by France, a milestone on the Bonis journey in their quest for freedom, upheld by their dignity. We do not forget it either. We regret, in the name of the sacred memory of our shared African ancestors, that it is you, a French Guyanese, a history graduate, who adopts this tone, which is, to say the least, provocative and contemptuous. The difference between encouragement and provocation is clear and leaves no room for distortion in our collective mind and memory. We, the Bonis, know how to remain in our place in French Guyana, for our presence here is owed to the nobility of our soul, the greatness of our spirit, and the sweat and blood shed by our ancestors. It is certainly not by chance that, upon its independence in 1975, the young state of Suriname chose to name its headquarters in Paramaribo, Memre Buku Kazerne. Remember Buku Barracks. The Bonis' war strategy of high deeds is the ancestor of modern guerrilla techniques that have since been studied in top military academies around the world, and still are today. Here, too, we add our contribution, drawn from the minutes of our family oral archives from that era when Boni, warlord from his Buku fort, was already recognized by all his contemporaries as a shrewd strategist. Mbu, Minolon, Nadipi, Midipi. So said Boni the Great back in the 18th century. Translation: Comrade, do not confuse a retreat in the face of an apparent defeat in battle with a strategic withdrawal meant to prolong the pleasure of the art of war. Nu gong kesa, boni naminen.